Hello dear students, you are welcome in this video. Students, as we are making a series in the history of English literature, this is #7 video in history of English literature, and in this video we are going to discuss about Elizabethan Age Part 3. This is the Part 3 of the Elizabethan Age, and here we have some significant points to discuss. The very first, I will talk about the drama before Shakespeare, and in this drama before Shakespeare we will have a review of the development of drama in this Elizabethan age. Then we will talk about the University Wits, and then we will talk about one of the significant University Wits, Christopher Marlowe, and the last point will be the variety of drama, or what kind of drama developed in the Elizabethan age, or what are the types or varieties of drama in the Elizabethan age. So friends, let's start with the drama before Shakespeare. As we all know that drama has developed from miracle plays in English, and this miracle plays paved the path for further development in the drama. And we find that initially, or in the early stage, the schoolmasters like Nicholas Udall composed dramas, and he made his boys perform these dramas in the school. And then we find that this commercial drama came out of a school or from the church, and it has become the part of the lives of people there in the England. And we find that some choir actors or choir boy actors performed dramas, performed interludes, performed different types of masks to entertain the masses of that time, and from there we find the drama has been developed. Friends, these choir boy actors are very significant in the development of drama, because they have got the permission of Queen, and they performed everywhere in the England, and that has become the significant point in the development of drama. Now who are those choir boys? Choir boys were nothing but the boys who sing, and with the singing they mixed the drama and they performed drama. Friends, here we have an important choir master called Richard Edward, who established a company of choir boy actors called Queen's Chapel in 1561, and he took the elements from country life of England and he dramatized those elements in farces and masks, and he made his company boys to perform for the audience. And further, he also dramatized some of the Chaucer's best known stories for the people, and from there we find this has become the significant norm in English literature, the performance based on the past events. So friends, this is what we can call as the raw drama in the hands of these choir masters and choir boy actors, but it has become ripe drama in the hands of University Wits. And here we have our next point, University Wits. Now, as we all know about University Wits, from University Wits the regular drama started in England, or the ripe drama started in England. We can say that these University Wits were the regular dramatists. Actually, they were actors as well as dramatists. First, they performed for the stage, and they knew very well the stage audience, and they also knew the part of dramatist or a playwright, and hence they involved all kinds of activities in their dramas. As we found, these University Wits are very famous in English literature because they have laid the way for Shakespeare's drama or Shakespearean drama next in the Elizabethan age. Now friends, let's understand about this University Wits. Actually, these University Wits were 7 masters. Most of them were studied in Oxford and Cambridge, and hence they were called University Wits, because they have some parallel things or similar things in their life. They studied in Cambridge or Oxford, and they wrote dramas in collaboration, and we find that they all were contemporaries, and hence they were called University Wits. Most of them were graduated or studied in universities. And friends, their contribution to the drama is very significant. These masters were 7 in numbers. We have Thomas Kidd, we have Thomas Nash, we have Thomas Lodge, then we have John Lyly, Christopher Marlowe, Robert Greene, and George Peele. They have contributed a lot to the English drama, and from there we find English drama ripened, or English drama formed in a very great quality. And from there we have proper plot, proper characterization, proper kind of settings in the drama. The plot construction is very well maintained in in this University Wits dramas. And friends, from there we find that Shakespeare has took a lot of material from this University Wits and he embedded all this material in his dramas. Now friends, we have one of the significant University Wits called John Lyly, and we have his many plays. And John Lyly's developed a style of writing in drama called Ephesus from a character. It is borrowed from his character called Ephesus. And what is this Ephesus or Epheism? Actually, this style is called Epheism, and Epheism is very famous, and later 50 years the same method or same style have been used by many dramatists in English literature. What it means, let's understand through the words of William J. Long. So called from Ephesus, the hero of Lyly's two prose works, Ephesus, The Anatomy of Wit, 1579, and Ephesus and His England, 1580. The style is affected and over-elegant, abounds in odd conceits and used hopelessly involved sentences. It is found in nearly all Elizabethan prose writers and partially accounts for their general tendency to artificiality. Shakespeare satirizes Epheism in the character of Don Adriano of Love's Labour's Lost, but is himself tiresomely Epheistic at times, especially in his early or Lylian comedies. Lyly, by the way, did not invent the style but did more than any other to diffuse it. Now friends, the simple meaning of this Epheism is nothing but the dramatists or playwrights used elaborate sentences. They used a complex kind of sentences and statements, odd conceits in their dramas, and this tradition has been followed by many dramatists later who reigned in the Elizabethan age on the stage. So friends, this is what Epheism. Now friends, we have next dramatist, that is Thomas Kyd. Thomas Kyd is very famous for his Spanish tragedy. It is called as the first English revenge tragedy. So in this English revenge tragedy, we find the elements of bloodshed were on the stage, and it has been created a melodramatic atmosphere in the drama. It is a horror play based on the Seneca and classical plays in Rome or in Greek. So friends, Thomas Kyd also is significant, and all the dramas which are significant by this University Wits, they have given the new vistas for English drama. If you wish, we can make a separate video on University Wits, because it is not possible to cover all these University Wits in single lecture. So we will make a separate video. If you wish, you have to comment below and tell your interest. If you are interested in this University Wits, then we will make a separate video. Now friends, let's move to the next point, and the next point is Christopher Marlowe. Now Christopher Marlowe, one of the University Wits, is more significant than these University Wits because he is directly compared with Shakespeare and he is parallel to Shakespeare. And there are many critics and scholars who say that Shakespeare borrowed material from Christopher Marlowe, and what Christopher Marlowe has used in his drama, the same kind of things or elements has been used by Shakespeare later in the Elizabethan age. Now friends, there are arguments regarding Christopher Marlowe because he was killed at the age of 29, and his murder was one of the very serious events in the history of English literature, because his contribution as a playwright is great in the history of English literature. And friends, hence we find there are many arguments regarding Christopher Marlowe. There are some critics who says that if Christopher Marlowe would have been lived more, Shakespeare would not have been born. So these kind of statements we find in English literature. Why? Because Christopher Marlowe has such a weight in the history of English literature. Now friends, let's understand Christopher Marlowe and his plays. Now Christopher Marlowe today is known for his 4 best dramas. The very first we find his drama Tamburlaine, which is composed in 1587, and from there we find the glory of English drama has began with the play Tamburlaine, Tamburlaine the Great, composed in 1587. And this play is a story of Timur the Tartar and his ambition for overpower. So these elements which we find in Spanish tragedy and in Seneca, these kind of elements also are there in Tamburlaine the Great. The second play of Christopher Marlowe, we have Dr. Faustus. Now many critics and scholars say that it is well constructed play, and we find all the elements which are necessary in a play are existed in this Dr. Faustus. Now again, Dr. Faustus is the story of lust for power and lust for knowledge, and how Dr. Faustus caught in this lust, and then how he leads to the destruction. So this is the second play, and this play also is significant in the history of English literature. Now friends, we have his third play, the Jew of Malta. Again we find the same kind of elements, the lust for wealth or the greed for wealth in the Jew of Malta, and we find that these four plays are very significant. If you study this four play, you will understand how Shakespeare has exploited many elements from these four plays in his latter plays. And the last play here we have of Christopher Marlowe, Edward II. Now Edward II is based on the Chronicle play, or it is a historical play, and we find that Shakespeare managed his histories based on this Edward II, and we find that the elements which are used, the historical elements, the historical things, historical events in Edward II, the same kind of things we find in Shakespeare. And there are some scholars and English teachers who say that Edward II is composed in collaboration with Shakespeare. So there are arguments, it is not clearly proven right now, but there are arguments. And when we study Shakespeare and Marlowe, we find, and when we compare both these great dramatists, we find that there are many similar elements in both Marlowe and Shakespeare. So we can say that Shakespeare has taken a lot of material, or he learned a lot of things from Christopher Marlowe, and hence Christopher Marlowe becomes a significant figure here in the English drama. Now friends, this is the second part. First we talked about drama before Shakespeare, or the development of drama, and then we talked about University Wits. Now we talked about Christopher Marlowe, and the last point in this video we have variety of drama in Elizabethan age, or in this period. Now what kind of dramas evolved in this period? Now if you think about Shakespeare, Shakespeare has used a variety of elements in his drama, a variety of themes. You find a variety of characters, variety of setting, variety of places, and a variety of threads in his dramas. Now the question is that, do these threads or do these elements existed before Shakespeare? And the answer to this question is of course, and that's why Shakespeare could manage all these elements in his drama. So we find that different types of dramas evolved in this period. The very first, we find that chronicle plays were developed in this period. As we know that there were cycles of plays, and from same cycles we have chronicle plays which are based on the history of England. We find in this chronicle plays the historical characters, historical places, historical setting is used, and these chronicle plays were very famous in England. Then we find domestic drama also developed in the same period. We find Gammer Gurton's Needle includes some qualities of domestic drama, and from there we find masks and interludes developed. So this is also a type developed in this period. The next we have romantic comedy and romantic tragedy. Now romantic comedy and romantic tragedy developed in this period because we find that the elements in John Lyly's plays, for example Euphues, are very similar in the plays of Shakespeare. We have Love's Labour's Lost, then we have Taming of the Shrew. This kind of plays developed before Shakespeare. Then we have court comedy or court drama, courtly drama, where we find court elements in such kind of dramas. And the last category or the last drama developed in this period is the drama based on Seneca, the drama based on classical plays called melodrama, and the blood tragedy or the blood drama. Now we have here Thomas Kyd's very famous tragedy called Spanish Tragedy, and it is hailed as the first English revenge play in the history of English literature. And from here we find that these elements were constantly used in the latter dramas which are developed in Elizabethan period. Now in this melodrama we find the elements of horror, the elements of fear, the elements of bloodshed on the stage, and the same kind of things were used in Shakespeare, and we find Shakespeare's Macbeth, King Lear, then we have Hamlet, Othello, Titus Andronicus. In these dramas we find this kind of horror, this kind of bloodshed on the stage, and we find these tragedies are very famous in English literature, and the audience also loved these tragedies in those period. Here we find the taste of audience is something inclined to horror, something inclined to the bloodshed, and here we find that William J. Long says that the audience was not so ripe in those years. It is half civilized, and the half civilization it has to come in England, and hence they loved this kind of bloodshed on the stage. So friends, this is all about the drama, the development of drama in Elizabethan period, and this is the third part in Elizabethan age, because Elizabethan is so vast and it is not possible to cover the age in one lecture. So this is all about Elizabethan drama. We talked about the drama before Shakespeare, Christopher Marlowe, then we talked about University Wits, and at the last we talked about the variety of drama, the kinds of drama in Elizabethan age. Now friends, the next lecture will be on Shakespeare, the great Shakespeare. So stay tuned and like this video, share this video among your friends, subscribe to Literature Simply, and don't forget to press the bell notification icon. Thank you.